Today at the Truck Spa, we're going to be answering some of your emails and comments on social media. Want to know more about what we do here in the wash bay. So today we're going to take the time to show you our wash pump system, how it works, and what it does for us. Stick around. All right, so let's have a breakdown of what's happening here, guys. We're gonna show you everything right from the top down to the bottom. So let's talk about our space here for a bit. We're in a commercial building. We rent a bay here. I've got a lease on it, so it's mine for a while, but I don't own the building. So this is why I've got the setup that I do, and I find it works quite well. So come on over and join me. I'm gonna show you right here from the start, guys. This is how we are set up with our wash system here, and it's nothing that's really uncommon for a lot of people. So our water supply is right over here, just on this side of the hot water tank. This fitting, there was just probably just a tap here, that kind of thing, but we got it plumbed in, so it's directly here. The shut-off valve is in the bathroom in the corner, so the water line comes down here, ties in over here, and the cold water comes up this way. And this is where our first cold water line feeds into our hot water tank. So we've got a 60-gallon hot water tank. A lot of you guys are asking, how do you not run out of water? It's because we don't use hot water here. If we do some washing, if we need something, a little heavier, dirty washing, engine wash, heavy bugs, that kind of thing, a lot of times we just open the hot water tank about a quarter turn. I'll show you that system there right away, but minimum hot water. We never run out of hot water because we hardly use any at all. So let's keep going. Our water line's split off, so we've got our hot water that comes out here this way, and then our cold water. And we've basically broken down into an easy manifold system where we can control our temperature quite easy with the old, basically like a washing machine system. We've got a split hose with our cold and hot valve. This line just goes to the garden hose. The garden hose that we're using is a Kevlar garden hose. Got this at Costco, and I have to say this is probably one of the best garden hoses I've got. It doesn't kink, doesn't break. We've had it, I think this garden hose is probably over 2 years old now. Been dragged around through a lot of dirt and a lot of grease and holds up quite well. So a little shout out to Costco with these Kevlar garden hoses. Really great review on my part. Come on in over and have a look at the manifold. You can see exactly what we're talking about. Really, really simple. It just basically gives us a hot and cold line with two valves on each. It splits off. This one's for the garden hose, and this one here has a splitter as well going to the pump. So let's talk about the pump. This is what you guys want to see. Everybody thinks it's got to be a crazy big expensive pump. I'll tell you a bit about our wash pumps here. When I started the business in January 23, I worked evening shift for 6 months at a different job, saving money, because this was my biggest expense when I started the business. And this pump we picked up at a local pump shop here in town. It's a small unit, but it works really well. It's a cold water only unit. Obviously, there's no heater on it. That's why you don't see the big unit with the burner on it and that kind of thing. So just a cold water system. The garden hose feeds our water. That goes directly into the inlet on the pump. We've got a screen in here that filters the water going in, the suction side of the pump. The pump itself is a Balder 3-phase electric motor. It is a brushless motor, so there's no problems. There's no mechanical failure that way. This pump has been with us for almost 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in January. I've got over 900 units washed here now, and this pump just does not stop going. The pump itself is a Karcher triplex pump. It is an LFP 350/30F, and basically that's 3.5 gallons a minute at around 1900 PSI. So something very important that somebody had shared with me, and it made a lot of sense to me. A lot of people are always concerned about the PSI. The pressure is always very important, but the different sizes of pumps are more rated in by gallons per minute. And the best way it was described to me was that, you know, gallons per minute is your horsepower and your PSI is your torque if you're comparing your wash pump to an engine. So I hope that makes sense. 3.5 gallons per minute, that's above average. If you buy a pump, let's say at Harbor Freight, Canadian Tire, most of those small wash pumps you get for $300 to $500, they're about a 1.2 to 1.5 gallon per minute pump, but they can reach that 1900 PSI. You're gonna have that pressure, but you're gonna have very little volume, and it's going to take you longer to wash. Pumps can get up from any, even bigger than this as well. You're gonna get to 5, 7, 8 gallons per minute. That's for industrial mega washing, right? That 8 gallons per minute. You're gonna have a large volume of water. You're gonna be able to wash a big area in a very little time. So 3.5 gallons a minute works very well for us here in the wash bay. It gives us more than what a residential wash pump gives us, but not to the point where we need 8 gallons a minute here. I think this little bay is probably too small for 8 gallons a minute. So that's why we're using the pump we are. Really happy with it in the setup. Let me bring you in, I'm gonna show you a couple more things with our pump here. One of the things we did, just very easy, we plumbed in a T and put a gauge in, and that helps us maintain and figure out, make sure the pump is running well. If we see when your needle's up and you're at a pressure and that needle's nice and steady, you know that the internals on your wash pump are working well. The valves are seated well, your seats, your sleeves, everything. There's not cracked, there's not worn, there's no water bypassing, there's no surging and circulating in the pump. A nice steady needle on the gauge always shows that your pump is working well. Same thing as well, if you have your pump set properly, if it's on the right spot, you know it's working well. If it's dropped down below, one of the things that we see happens, it's this guy. What this is, it's called an unloader valve. That's a name for it. A lot of people call it a bypass valve, a recirculating valve. And what this does, there's a knob on here that controls the tension on a spring. There's a spring inside here. So what happens is when your pump hits a dead end on your hose, when you release the gun on your trigger, it'll pressure up and it'll actually push the spring open. And when instead of deadheading the pressure on the pump, it'll actually open up from the pressure, deadheaded from the water here, open up the spring, and it'll recirculate the water from this hose back down in the suction side of the pump. So it actually just circulates until you're ready to squeeze the trigger again. So this unit on the bottom of the recirc valve, that's your pressure transducer. And what that does is that is an electrical sensor that ties into this cable here, coming into this box. So let me tell you more about what's inside this box. Really important. All right, so we stopped for a second because we wanted to show you more about what this guy is here. This is a little more than what comes for sale on a regular pump. This is something that we asked for and got installed, and it's very easy to get installed for your pump as well. And I'm gonna show you why it's so important and so helpful for us here. This is a really good way to keep your shop efficient. So inside here, we've got our power. We've got our power going to our pump here, but inside the box, we have the 50 amp relay. So here's why this wire from the pressure transducer on the unloader valve is so important. This wire runs back through into the junction box, and it ties in to the on and off switch on the lid. But what it does, it goes to this little box here. And it's a dual function timer. What it does is when the pump is on and it's working, pretend you're washing and you let go of the trigger. What happens is after 15 seconds, the pump automatically shuts off. You don't have to worry about it running and continuously running, getting hot while it's circulating that little bit of water here. After 15 seconds, shuts off on its own, then it stays off. The other part of the timer, and it can be adjusted. There's a little dial on here. You can put a little tiny set screw in there or a little flathead screw, and you can change it anywhere from like 5 minutes to an hour. And what that does is that is your pump shut off. So let's say we're done washing, we release the gun, the pump is running, 15 seconds later, it shuts off. That triggers the start of the second timer that's in here, and we've got it set at about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, the power completely disengages from the pump. The pump power is completely shut off. If we want to use the pump again, we need to reset the toggle switch, turn it off, turn it back on again. So the reason why I wanted to stop and talk to you about this is because that is a great way to maintain efficiency when you're washing. If we're working on the other side of the bay, it's a lot of time to stop, walk back around, shut it off, do what you need to do, come back, turn it on again. So this gives us the comfort of having it shut off, not constantly circulating, and really heating that water as it circulates in the pump. If someone forgets to turn the pump off, after half an hour, it shuts off on its own, no risk of the pump running again. So I think that's a huge factor in our efficiency here with washing, keeps us from having to run back and forth. And that's why I wanted to take the time to talk to you about the power switch on the box here. A little bit more expensive, it was a little extra cost. Yes, has it paid for itself? Multiple times over. All right, coming off the pump, let's keep going downstream. We've got our wash pump hose that we've got, right? It's just a heavy duty wash pump hose designed for pressure washers and wash pumps. We used to have a 100-foot hose in here, quite long. We didn't need all the rolls. We usually kept a few rolls on the hook, more than what we need in here. What we've done now, we've kind of made it a little more efficient, a lot lighter. We've downgraded to a 50-foot hose, and the only reason why it works so well for us that way is because we've also attached this hose attachment. And it's one of the things that we've got available on our website. We've talked about it a bit in the past, but it's this Bluetooth hose. So at 50 50 feet, we've got a connection, and then we've got this hose here. This is the large car truck style Bluetooth hose. This is a carbon fiber extension at 16 feet long, and it works really, really well at really improving the ergonomics of your wash game. This hose, we call it the Bluetooth hose, because once you hook it up and start washing with it, it almost feels like you don't even have a hose hooked on. It's so light, it's carbon fiber. We've had this hose, it's pretty dirty. The new ones are quite a bit better looking. They're nice and blue, nice and bright blue. This one's quite old. We've had this one for probably a year and a half, and it's still working meticulously. I love offering products like this to you guys, having them on my website, because I've been able to test them and know that they work. This hose has done a lot of washing here, and it works really good. So with the 50 footer, the 16 feet, we've got about 66 feet, I guess, and that gives us enough room to go around and do the backside and around really, really well. So we've made ourselves a little more efficient. Instead of lugging around a 100-foot hose, we're down to here with the 66 feet. So on the end of this hose, when we've got it hooked up, when I'm ready to start washing at the end of this hose, what we're using here in the wash bay, a Suttner product. Same company that makes the adjustable nozzle swivel holders, the ST330s. We've got the ST2605, and this is a ergonomic wash gun from Suttner. Probably one of the leaders when it comes to pressure washing, wash gun technology and products. And a really, really great review for this product, because like I said, the amount of washing we hear do with this, it gets used really well. So before I hook it up, I just want to show you what we have between the gun and the hose. Right here, a very important tool, the swivel. You guys can see I can just move it there. When I hook up the hose to the gun, it swivels there. It's a high pressure swivel. Also, one of the things, if you can invest in to getting one of these, really, really improves your wash game and improves your ergonomics. What I mean by ergonomics is how comfortable and how well the tools that you have work with you when you're washing. If you've got a wash gun that's got a big heavy hose, it can be very tiring and you don't even think about it, but when you're on the other side of the truck, you just want to get it done. You'll just do whatever you can just to kind of blast that last spot. And when you take the truck out to dry, it's like, wow, I didn't clean that very well, because you got tired while you're washing. So anytime you can improve your wash game, that helps. We've made the investment with the amount of washing we do here at the wash bay. That's why we've done what we have here. A lot of guys are you saying, hey, Rob, your wash gun looks a little different. What's this piece on the end? This piece right here is called a Q connector, K-E-W. That's how it's spelled. It's a Q connector. And what this does, same thing here, this is kind of like a connector like this, right? You just pull the collar back and release it like this 3/8 coupler. This one, same thing. You have a spring-loaded coupler, or a holder, I guess. It's got the O-rings, the ball bearings inside. And what that does is that allows you to change out your attachments on your wash gun without releasing the pressure or turning the water off. And what I mean by that is your trigger right here in your wash gun, that is your valve isolating your water with the pressure and the water flow. You can now change out attachments on the gun without having to shut your water off. Come with me and I'll show you. Let's show you what I mean with these Q connectors. We're nearing the end, but these are great points to show you, and a lot of things that I use to get the washing done the way I do. So pay attention when you guys ask how I get it done. This is how I get it done. That Q connector we're talking about, and this is what the end of it looks like. So this is the male end that goes inside the connector. Let me show you. It gets retracted like that, falls back in, push it in, and then it's locked. What we've got here is a 1/4-inch coupler that's threaded on right here. And what that does is that allows us, I can show you on this foam cannon here. Foam cannons come factory with a 1/4-inch connector, because that's the standard connection on the end of most of the lances on the wash, just like this. The end of your wash lance is gonna have a connection like this. What I need to do is to convert my wash gun to be able to hook up to the foam cannon now is just with this piece. So that's why I have this piece loose like that. I hook it up, and then I take my foam cannon, and that allows me to wash with my foam cannon directly. And the nice thing about doing this is that I have control where the gun is in my hand, not at the end of the lance. I can turn my pitch while I'm washing, and I can also turn the red part and control the degree of angle on the spray as well. So that's why we like washing with this connector, because we can use the foam cannon at the end of the gun. Over here on the wall, you can see where I've got my lances set up. I've got 2 lances here that I primarily use. I've got a 3-footer, which is really good for using washing small vehicles, or for doing engine washes or undercarriage. Gives me a chance to be a little more mobile, get around things like that. Here's my 4-footer. extra handle that always works well for washing taller vehicles, high vehicles, that kind of thing, especially washing big trucks. I'm always using the 4-footer. You can see on the Lances, guys, I've got this same fitting like I did with this down on the end of my Lances. So it's easy as just literally taking off the foam cannon, grabbing the wash lance that I want, and hooking it up that way, and I'm ready to wash. Here is another great feature about this Q connector. While it's hooked up, it swivels under high pressure. I can be washing and actually twist the gun and twist the angle of the wash nozzle to either a horizontal or vertical while I'm washing. So we've talked about the importance of your wash. When you're doing a touchless wash, you're getting rid of that friction media. You're just going with the pressure and the soap. So anytime you can have your wash angle as direct to the vehicle as possible, the better. This is one way that helps. And I'm gonna go back to grabbing the 4-footer, just like that. There, I've converted my wash gun now to a 4-footer. And as you can see, we've got the Suttner 330 adjustable nozzle holder on it. And the beautiful thing about that is I can adjust it at a tall angle like that. And if we're washing a unit like this with a high bunk, I can get really, really high up, almost to the top, and have my wash nozzle still pointing directly at the vehicle. Hope that makes a lot of sense. It gives that direct action, and that's how you're gonna get the best wash with a touchless product. If we turn this nozzle and put it back directly even with the Lance, how it would normally be if this wasn't on here, you would be washing like this, and your wash angle would be severely compromised. You'd be getting a minimum wash efficiency without that direct angle. So that is why we use this. If you've liked what you've seen so far, please leave me a comment. Tell me what kind of wash pump you guys are using, what kind of results you're getting, and what do you think about my pump system? Leave me a comment. I know it's bloody dirty, but hey, it's here, we use it, it works great. We're nearing the end of our segment, guys. It's time to talk about the wash tips, our wash nozzles. Here at the Truck Spa, we find best success with the green tips. It's a 25-degree wash nozzle. You're probably wondering why we've got a handful of them. And the reason is because these wash tips, if you look, they've got a number on it, right? It tells you the size. Let's look at this. I don't know, cameraman, if you can zoom in on that number right there. Can you see that number right there? 25050. What that number represents, the 250 represents the degree of angle in the wash tip, and that's color coded, so that's easy to find. The 050 actually represents gallons per minute that this wash tip works best at. And you're probably asking, Rob, why are you using a 5 gallon a minute tip? We've got different sizes here. I've got one that's also at 4 gallons a minute and one that's at 3.5 gallons a minute. And what that does, it actually builds a little restriction. This one at 5 is gonna flow more than at 3.5. So it's actually gonna adjust the pressure and change the wash characteristics. It's almost like fine tuning a carbureted, a 2-stroke engine with a carburetor, right? When you've got that jetting on the carburetor, the wash tips are almost the same way. We've got to pile them around. Greens are best. That's what we use for applying the touchless soaps, for rinsing, and that kind of thing. So pretty standard equipment here. Some of the things you don't normally see, some of the things we've had to order on our own, like I said, the Q connectors, that's a big one. The adjustable nozzle holders, which we have on our website. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys learned something from this video today here. I appreciate you sticking around. I want to know what you guys think of my wash pump, or if you've got any questions about it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I am so glad you joined us today. We're going to have more for you shortly.